Hello everyone, myself Purushotham, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, MLR IT. In this session, I am going to explain about the JDBC connection steps. So, this is the overview of this session. Here, first I will explain the JDBC connection steps and I will explain with a simple example. Okay. So, let us get started today's session. So, to connect the JDBC, so we need to follow some following steps. So, these are the steps we need to follow. So, there are the 5 steps we need to follow to connect Java application to the database. Okay. The first step, we need to register the driver class. Okay. The second step, we need to create the connection or we need to establish the connection. And third step, we need to create the statement. And fourth step, we need to execute the query. And last step, we need to close the connection. Okay. So, these are the steps we need to follow to connect Java application to the database. Okay. Now, first, so how to register the driver software means, so to register the driver software, we need to use what the for name. Okay, so for name is a static method, okay, which is defined inside class. Okay, here the class is a class. Class is a class. It's not a keyword, it's a class. So that's why it's starting with a capital letter. Class itself, it's a class. So inside a class, the for name is a static method. Okay, so that's why here we are calling by using what the class name. If you want, you can see here. So class dot for name we are calling, means by using the class name we can call what the static method. So I'm calling class dot for name, and in class dot for name we need to pass what a driver, what a fully qualified name. Okay, so here I'm using the driver class, and the driver class is a present in what com.mysql.cj.jdbc. Okay, so here I'm using what a MySQL driver. So this driver with a fully qualified class name I'm passing. Okay, suppose if you are using the Oracle database, the Oracle database related driver we need to pass here. Okay, now so this for name is defined inside what class. Okay, and this method is used to load the driver dynamically. Okay, and this method will be throws what the class not found exception, means whenever you are using the for name, and the for name method will be throws what the class not found exception, and the class not found is a checked exception. Class not found is a checked exception, and exception handling is a mandatory. Okay, so if you are not handle exception, so either you need to bypass by using throws keyword. So either we need to handle the class not found exception by using try catch, or we need to use a throws keyword. Okay, so otherwise the program won't be compiled and it will generate what the compile time error. Okay, so compulsory we should handle, or we can bypass the exception by using throws keyword. And in for name we need to pass what a driver name. Okay, it must be in the string type. So that's why here I enclose within what double quotes. So using a for name, class dot for name, we can load and we can register the driver. So second step, in second step, we need to establish the connection. So how can we establish the connection means by using what the get connection method. So the get connection method is a predefined method which is defined inside the driver manager class. The driver manager is one of the predefined class and which manages all the different kinds of drivers. Okay, and the responsibilities of the driver manager means it will register the driver and it will unregister the driver. Okay, and the main responsibility of the driver manager is what it will establish the connection. Okay, so how it will be establish the connection means by using the get connection method we can establish the connection. Okay, so here the get connection method also it is a static method and we need to pass the 3 parameters here. Okay, the first parameter is a URL, means your database URL we need to pass, and the database URL means suppose if you are using the MySQL server, that MySQL server and your database name we need to pass. Okay, that's what we'll see. And second one is your username, and third parameter is a password. Okay, so 3 parameters we need to pass. First one is your server URL, means suppose if you are using the MySQL server, the MySQL server URL we need to pass. Suppose if you are using Oracle related URL you need to pass. Okay, and next parameter is what username, and next parameter is a password. Okay, so here you are using the get connection method. This get connection method will be returned what the driver manager. The get connection method is a part of what driver class. So that's why I'm calling by using the class name, and this get connection method will be written what the connection object. Okay, so that's why I'm holding in connection. Okay, so whenever you are using the get connection, and the get connection also will throw what SQL exception. SQL also one of the checked exception. It is also one of the checked exception. So checked exception, exception handling is a mandatory. Either you can use a try catch or you can use a throws keyword. Okay. So if you are not handle exception, so you need to bypass by using throws keyword. So either one approach you can use, but compulsory we need to handle or we can bypass. Okay. Next, third step. In third step, we need to create the statement, or we need to create, we need to prepare the statement. Okay. Either you can use what you need to create the statement, or you can use what the prepared statement. It's up to you. If you want, you can use this method, create statement method, or if you want, you can use a prepared statement method. So if you use any of this method, it will throw what SQL exception only. Okay, SQL exception also again it is a checked exception only. So compulsory we need to handle by using a try catch, or you can bypass by using a throws keyword. It's up to you. And so suppose if you are using the prepared statement, and the prepared statement you need to pass your query. So suppose if you are using the select query, select a star from a table. Okay, so that query we need to pass here. Okay, and that will be that the equivalent statement will be prepared by using the prepared statement. Okay, next, so execute the query. So the prepared statement will be prepared what equivalent to Java statement, and that statement we need to execute. Okay, so how we can execute means, so basically we will use the two methods. One is execute method and second one is a execute update method. Okay, so execute query method and execute update method. So when we need to use execute query and when we need to use execute update means, so as name suggests, update. If you are performing any updations on table, if you are performing any updations on the table, like suppose if you are inserting the data, if you are updating the data, or if you are deleting the data, in such cases you need to use what execute update method. And execute update method always returns what integer, means how many rows are deleted, or how many rows are updated, or how many records are inserted. Okay, so that number will be returned, the number will be returned. So that number is nothing but int type. Okay, and again if you are using any of this method, again it will generate what SQL exception only. So suppose if you are using SQL, suppose if you are using any of this method, so compulsory we need to handle either what the try catch, or you can use what throws keyword. Okay, so now when we need to use a execute query means, if you are using the select operations, okay, if you are not performing any updations, just you are reading the data. Okay, in such cases you can use what execute query. Okay, now execute query method will be written what the result set. Okay, the return types are mandatory here, very important, and we need to concentrate on the return types. So execute query method is returning what the result set. The result set is nothing but it will return your entire table in logical format. Okay, that is nothing but the result set. Okay, so using the result set, you can access any of the field. Okay, that part I will explain the programmatically. So execute query means you can execute the queries by using what two methods. Basically we'll use the two methods only, the execute query method and execute update method. Execute update means if you are performing any updations on the table, we will use what execute update. If you are not performing any updation, just you are performing only the read operation, you can use what the first method, execute query. Okay, next, so after done with the what execution query or execute update method, so you need to, at last step you need to close the connection. So how will you close the connection means, you need to call what the close method. Okay, so to avoid the resource leakages, so compulsory we need to close the connection. So by using the close method, by calling the close method, we can close the connection, the database connection. Okay, so these points now I am going to explain the programmatically now. So I will explain the simple example. So first step here, if you want to work with database, the first step we need to load the driver. Okay, so here in ID itself I am loading my driver. So to load the driver, so what we need to do means, so first of all we need to download the driver. So I hope it is downloaded. So this is my driver. This is my driver. Here you can see MySQL connector G. Okay, so this one. Okay, so this one I will copy to the desktop and I will paste here. So this driver I want to load in my what IDE. Now how to load means, so go to the file and the project structure, in project structure we need to select the second option, that is a modules. Okay, so we need to select second option, modules. In modules you can see the sources, paths and dependencies. We need to select only the dependencies. Okay, so here I am selecting the dependencies, and in dependencies you can find a plus button here, add button, so click on it, and we need to upload a file. Okay, the file type is a jar file, so compulsory we need to select the first option only. Why means the first option is a jars or directories, means jar file I want to upload, the first option I am selecting. Now, so my driver is there on desktop, so I will navigate to the desktop. So you can see here the desktop. Now you can see I am using the MySQL server. So MySQL -connector J -8.3.0 .jar file. Okay, and make sure the file name must be extends with the jar extension. Okay, now so make sure that, and here I am clicking on OK. After that, so click on apply and click on OK now. So that's it, done. If you are done with this, now you can write the program in your IDE. Okay. So before writing the program in IDE, first I want to create a database in my SQL server. Okay, so for that here I am using the MySQL workbench. So this is my MySQL workbench interface. So in the MySQL workbench interface, so I want to create a database. Okay, so here you can see the by default it will be there in the administration. If you are first time, if you are opening the MySQL workbench, by default it will be there in the administration mode. So you need to click on the schemas. So here we need to click on schemas. Now you can see this one is the schemas and this one is the administration. So select only schemas. Now I want to create a database. So to create the database, you can see this database symbol. So this plus symbol plus database symbol. So click on it. Now it will ask you to enter. Just a minute. I will zoom. Now you can see it will ask you to enter the database name. So I will enter the database name is a MLRIT. Okay, so database name I entered MLRIT and I am clicking on OK and I am clicking on apply and finish. That's it. So you can see here the database is created. The database is what? MLRIT. Now here I have three databases. MLRIT is there, MyDB is there, and SysDB is there. Okay. Now here I want to use only MLRIT database only. So write the query for this. So here I am using what? Use MLRIT. And I want to run this query. So to run this query, you can see this symbol. So this symbol, the run button. So click on it. Now you can see, so MLRIT database is now it is highlighted. So that now we are using only MLRIT database now. Okay. Now go back to what your IDE and write the program. Okay. So as per the database connection step, the first step is to load a driver. So to load the driver, we need to use what? The class.forName. So I am using the class.forName. In class.forName, we need to pass the database. The driver name is a we need to pass with the fully qualified class name. So com.mysql.cj.jdbc. and driver. So this is my driver name. Now as I mentioned, whenever you are using the class.forName, the forName method will be, you can see where it is, yeah. It is throwing the class not found exception. You can see here the class not found exception it is throwing, means if you are using the forName, compulsory we need to handle by using a try catch, or you can bypass by using throws keyword. So here I am not using the try catch, just I am bypassing. So here I am writing what? The class not found exception. Now you can see there is no error in my program. That's it. Now the first step is over. A second step. In second step, we need to establish the connection. To establish the connection, we need to use the driver manager class. The driver manager is responsible to establish the connection. Okay. So driver manager dot the get connection method we need to call. So here I am calling what? Driver manager dot the get connection. Now in driver manager dot get connection, we need to pass the first parameter is your what? MySQL server URL we need to pass. Okay. So here the MySQL server means here what we need to pass means, so JDBC colon MySQL colon localhost colon 3306. Okay, that is a port number, and inside this localhost, okay, I have created a database. Now this part is very important. So here I am passing what the database name. So in my case, I created the database name as MLR. So here I am passing MLR. In your case, the database name may be different. So that database name we need to pass here. Okay, whatever the database name you created, that database name here we need to pass. Okay, so the second parameter is username. Okay, username, in my case it is a root. Okay, in my case it is a root. While installing the MySQL server, I mentioned what a username as a root and password also root. Okay, so it's up to you. You can write any username and any password. So in my case, the username is a root and password also root. Okay, that's it. Now the get connection method will be return the connection object. Okay, so you should hold in connection and cont reference variable. Okay, now whenever you are using the get connection method, the get connection method is what throwing SQL exception. You can see here it is a throwing SQL exception. Means here the SQL exception also one of the checked exception. So compulsory either you can handle by using a try catch or by using a throws keyword. Okay, so I don't want to use a try catch as of now. I want to bypass this exception. Just I want to use a throws keyword. So already I am using the throws keyword, just to separate with the comma and write SQL exception. Now here I am writing the SQL exception. That's it, done. Now the con reference variable is there. Now I want to verify. Okay, I want to verify whether the connection is a successful or not. I want to verify. Okay, so how to verify means just use a if condition. So if the connection is a successful means it will not return any null value. Okay, if it connection is a fail, the con reference variable will be returns a null. Okay, so based on this condition, now we can write the program. So if it is not equals to null means the connection is not returning any null. So means the connection is a successful. So just write a simple statement. So connection success. Connection success. And if anything wrong, so the connection fail. So here what we need to write means just connection fail. That's it. So first I want to check whether connection is success or not. I want to check. So here I am checking. So just right click on run button. Yeah, now you can see one acknowledgement we received. So that is what the connection is success. So that's it. If your connection is success means almost our work is done. Why means here if connection is success means we no need to check any what the database what the connections like whether database is created properly or not. We no need to check, and username and password, and no need to check everything. But if the connection is failed means we need to check this driver name, it is properly mentioned or not, we need to check, and this URL sometimes we may miss what this colon, and sometimes we may miss this slash, sometimes we may miss what this port number, and sometimes we may give what database name. So we may do some mistake in this areas, so we need to rectify that, we need to check that. Okay, so if the database connection is success means almost half work is done. Okay, so in next session we'll see what the database operations, like all CRUD operations we'll see. So how to create the database, how to create the tables, how to insert the data inside the table, and how to retrieve the data, how to update the data, and how to delete the table records, and everything we'll see in the next session. Okay, so that's about this session. Thank you.